Hello everyone. On August 12th, there's going to be an Aquarius full moon. The exact time for London is 2:35 a.m., so you won't probably be up by then. But let's take a look at the chart in detail. That should you want to do some kind of full moon magic, here's the chart to help you to see what's going on. And the London chart is really important because if you can see, the Liliths have very relevant features in the space-time moment. And what's more, Lilith is rising in Cancer. With it, Sirius and Canopus. These two stars are within maybe 35 minutes of an arc. Canopus is a southern constellation, Argonavis, and Sirius is the big dog, and it's the brightest star of the celestial orb. So it's one of the most important stars, denoting success and brilliance and magical properties. So that is what you have on your ascendant. And there are other important features. For instance, Venus has just moved into, it's at 0 degrees Leo, coming up to a conjunction with the asteroid Lilith, revolt against injustice. And the dark moon Lilith is also in the first house. So actually Lilith, Venus is already in the second house. So Liliths are everywhere. And Lilith, of course, is the first wife of Adam, the strong feminine, the independent feminine. So this chart has the flavor of an independent feminine. But at the same time, if you look at the Leo Aquarius dichotomy, of course, it's about power and revolutions. So this is what you're going to see in the upcoming days and weeks. If you take a look at what's happening in the United States, it's really getting into the state of a third world banana republic. It's ridiculous. I think the Democrats are realizing that they are in big trouble, and they are trying to do everything in their power to secure some sort of gain by which then later on, with the tons of refugees that they are embracing in their country, they're going to be in power for eternity. This is what I can see. And in the meanwhile, the middle class is becoming poor, and the poor are becoming even poorer. I don't really understand why they are doing it. I understand on one hand, but I don't think that you can do this with Americans in the long run. Anyhow, on the MCIC, you have Pisces and Virgo, and Mercury is on the IC, suggesting for Londoners, please learn from your roots, learn from your karmic past. But Mercury is conjunct Zosma, and so is, of course, the IC, and Zosma is, I think, the beta star, maybe the gamma star of Leo, the celestial lion. It's the point where in the myth, Hercules breaks the spine of the Nemean lion, and this is how he conquers it. And Zosma is a healing word for all sorts of terrible karmic issues, especially death and torture. So that is on the IC. And the Pallas Athena is on Rigel, and Rigel is the gamma star of maybe the beta, I never know. Anyhow, a bright star in the constellation Orion, and it denotes the foot of the pharaoh, education and protection at the same time. Sedna is still on the Pleiades, especially now on Archeon, and it will be there for the next 2 years. So Sedna, which is creation through dissection, is at the moment residing at the place of the creator goddess, the home of the creator goddess. So we have this ability to recreate, to redo whatever we have done in the wrong time and the wrong way, that is not working. We can rearrange these bits and pieces, and we can try to create a workable piece. Mars has just left Capulus and is now aligned with Algol, the demon star, which is a very strong feminine healing bird. Again, the healing word for all sorts of feminine persecution, witch hunts, and sorts of things. It's a very strong feminine star. You still have Uranus conjunct the North Node. It will be there for another 10 days for sure, and then they are slowly separating afterwards. You still have Juno and Astrea conjunct. Neptune is already separating because Neptune is a lot slower, but the three are still moving together. So you can still break old embedded karma regarding your relationship, your partnerships, and also covenants and pacts can be redone in world politics or world economics. Unfortunately, this, Saturn is blocking the Aquarius moon in this moment, suggesting that what you, the layman, the everyman wants is not going to happen. It's going to be blocked. And here's an interesting midpoint structure. Chiron is exactly at the midpoint of the Aries Jupiter midpoint. Aries is drastically altered outward circumstances, so the war is escalating, the hostilities are escalating, Jupiter is blowing it up out of proportions, and in the middle is karmic wounds, which means that it's going to be very wounding, and at the same time we should learn from previous wars and previous wounds, we as a mankind, but we don't actually know how to, unfortunately. So that's the space-time moment for London, and only London. So when you are elsewhere, you need to look it up. And but the fixed star placements with the celestial objects are going to be the same. The main feature of this chart is this fixed ground cross, which actually brings us closer to the Uranus-Saturn square, which was last year's main feature. And this year they came closer and then separated again. And now they are becoming again closer and closer. I think it's not going to be exact per se, exact, but it's going to still be a feature in September, October. So the real reality check regarding, you know, what we are doing wrong and what we have destroyed just because we are idiots is coming to term. We have to come to term then. But this is the first moment when there's a reckoning, as you can see. And the ground cross is always important because it simply behaves like a cross. So it puts the cross on your shoulders, so to speak. Full moons are always about completion and fulfillment. This is a fixed ground cross and a double karmic cage because the nodal axis is still is also in there. And karmic cages are usually things that show you what you can keep from the old and what you need to do as a new, because you know the south node is your karmic experiences and the north node is your karmic intent. And Saturn, Uranus are also kind of weighing into this, because what they teach us, because that's what I call the well, it's many ways to call it. It's simply what it means is whatever you thought was solid is going to be disrupted, but also whatever you thought you won't be able to, or you won't have the occasion to change, will change. So it's really like an earthquake. I usually say the earthquake aspect, but sometimes it's hard to explain this because some people think it not figuratively, but so I sometimes get messages like, there wasn't an earthquake. You told me that there's going to be an earthquake. No, an earthquake aspect simply means that it shakes up the fundaments of things and renews things, not in a nice way always, especially when you don't like changes. Those people with lots of fixed placements hate changes, and this is a fixed ground cross, a fixed double karmic cage. Okay, so that's one thing. And there are many engines. Engines are squares. They're made up of squares, trines, and quincunxes, and there are at least 3 of them. But I selected a mutable water engine involving the south node, your knowledge of the past, Pallas Athena, wisdom, and Juno, Astrea, change your or alter your covenants, your renew what's not good in your relationship. break old embedded karma in your partnership, something like that. That's what I think is maybe the most interesting, but there are many others. There's this fixed water engine involving the sun, the south node, and Juno Astrea. And there are many others. For instance, there's another one here. It is a fixed air engine, Saturn, Moon, Pallas Athena, and South Node. Engines are brilliant configurations because they put together three aspects that normal traditional astrology would never ever pair, and they are very efficient because the square gives you a daily push. The trine gives you blessings and harmony, and the quincunx, which is a very disruptive aspect because sometimes it works as a trine and sometimes it works as a square or an opposition. It gives you the ability to push forward, to grow, to leave behind all the embedded karma and to grow into a new situation. So those are important. There's also a finger of fate, which is a non-closing boomerang. Interestingly enough, we do have the oppositions, usually the opposition that is non-closing. But here, the Chiron Uranus and Chiron North Node semi-sextile is not happening. Chiron Uranus semi-sextile has been there for quite a while, in and out of orb. Semi-sextiles have a very, very tight orb, 1 to 1.5 degrees. So that is why it's not happening. But the finger of fate is there. Incidentally, I was just, as I'm putting this together, I was reminiscing because Julie Hall died a year ago. She died on the 5th of August, and she loved fingers of fate. She worked with them extensively, and she used very wide orbs. So according to her ideas, this is a perfect boomerang. But of course, I don't use I only use tight orbs. But anyhow, here you have the focal point is really the North Node Uranus conjunction change, but at the same time, Pallas Athena wisdom is also in there. And of course, how you can alter your relationship. And there's also a little engine, and little engines are not as effective as normal engines because instead of the trine, you have a sextile. Here you have on this fixed water engine, on the other side you have the little engine involving Juno Astrea, Uranus North Node, and the Sun. So no, sorry, not Uranus North Node. Yeah, no, Uranus North Node and the Sun. Sorry, yes. Why am I? My eyesight is getting worse. Anyhow, so this is it. This is the little engine. So the push is there, and it's the sun. Whenever the sun is involved in any of the configurations, it's always important because the sun is the most important element in a chart. And here you have the transcendental celestial objects of this complex planetary picture. The sun, on the sun you have Apollo, another sun god, and Amor, love. On the moon and Saturn you have Shiva, the destroyer and recreator of the Trimurti. On the North Node, you have Helena, love goddess as well, Niobe, deep, inconsolable grief, and Patientia, which is patience. On the South Node, you have two TNOs, and one is Typhoon and the other one is Diavana. Interestingly enough, they are both linked to nature. Typhoon is the destroying aspect of nature, the big destroying energies of nature, and Diavana, who is linked to the divas, so the elementals, the creator forms of nature. So here you can see on the south, and this on the South Node, which means that many times throughout history we saw the destroy how we destroyed the earth, and not just human beings but nature, and then there's always a rebuild. So whatever is getting destroyed now, we will have to trust the divine energies of nature for them to recreate something new, because it happened in the past many times. On Chiron you have Thalia and Sphinx. Of course, again, the smoke screen. Thalia is the one of the muses, the muse of theater, and that's exactly what's happening. Mainstream media simply puts out whatever they want us to believe, and they do this in a way that you if you watch the news, you think you know everything, and no, you don't know anything. And Sphinx, of course, is the secret. And it's linked to our karmic wounds. And on Pallas Athena, you have Agamemnon, a fighter, Rigel, we spoke about this, the foot of the pharaoh, and Althea, which is an aboriginal creator myth. Althea creates everything, and then after creation, he leaves, turns his back and goes to the edge of his creation and never looks back and never turns back. And this is an attitude when I create something and then I turn around and walk away, and it denotes two things: the ability to create and the desire not to make it work or not to see what's happening, but also those people who are now destroying our world created this world. In the last 60, 70 years, global capitalism was being built, global supply chains were being organized, and now you see the disruption of this. So as if they didn't realize that what they created, they are now totally disrupting it, and they just turn their back and walk away. That's a plausible explanation as well. And also on Pallas Athena, so you need to be wise, you need to understand these things, these energies. And then Juno Astrea, you have Taharon Hiabako, who is a Southern American creation story, when Taharon Hiabako all of a sudden appears on the shores. He's a white man, and he teaches the Indians, the Southern American Indians, to the very, very hard work of agriculture. And this is something that is important because we are going back to the Middle Ages, really, in many ways. So goes the nice and noble green goals, because they are not green. The greens are not green. The greens are red. Okay, so they are watermelon. Really, they look green, and but both in their methods and in their stupidity and in their arrogance, they are just like communists. So don't get into the thing that if you do anything green, that you are saving the planet. The planet doesn't need to be saved. We human beings need to be saved in the upcoming months and years. Anyhow, there is a dissolved opposition in the London chart. This is not a very important aspect, but I'm just showing it to you because you can learn from it. As you can see, there's an exact opposition between Vesta and Trans-Pluto. Trans-Pluto denotes dimension jump and also mediation. And Vesta says that in order to understand the space-time moment, at first we need channeling. We need to channel down whatever there's up there, knowledge, but also we need to mediate. We need to come closer to the opposing enemy party ideas, because we can learn from it, because we can actually, without disrupting things totally, we can actually gain something. Okay, a war is always a no-no, because it's a negative sum total game. So no one in war, no one gains. Maybe those who are financing it, but really, of course, who loses everything, and the victor also loses a lot. I mean, it's ridiculous how we haven't learned this from the past. And of course, this dissolved opposition is dissolved by Venus, Lilith. Lilith rewards against injustice, and Venus creating our harmony. So we need to create harmony. We need to focus on how to create harmony and how to reward against injustice. This is what you can see in Holland. The farmers there, who are the best farmers in the world, who are actually creating, I think they are the second biggest food exporters, and they are being totally annihilated by their own government. It's really a sad story. Anyhow, here are the transcendental celestial objects. Not too many, but still interesting. On Venus Lilith, you have Gorgo, Persephone, and Scyllaris. Gorgo is the Gorgo sisters, independent, wise, proud, feminine energies or archetypes who are pre-Zeusian, and thus Zeus can't actually conquer them. That's why he uses all sorts of tricks. For instance, when Pallas Athena turns one of them into Medusa. Persephone is the daughter, the young virgin daughter of Demeter, the goddess of wheat and agriculture. And she becomes the queen of the underworld overnight when Hades, Pluto, rapes her and takes her down to the underworld. And it suggests the ability to grow up in a day, grow up instantly, overnight. When something happens to you and you lose your virginity, you use your innocence and you become a strong woman. So that's the idea, to become strong women. And Silurus is a centaur in the Metamorphoses by Ovid. He is described as the most beautiful, most handsome of these centaurs, who actually tries to better himself. He tries to do art and education, and he studies, he cultivates the arts, because he wants to elevate himself from these subhuman, half animal state into something better. So it shows the ability and the chance to better ourselves. And on Vesta, you have Gong Gong. I do have a whole video on Gong Gong. You may Google it if you want to understand what it means. It's a Chinese story about the fire. It's some sort of fire dragon who fights against the water dragon. And within the fight, he actually bumps into the bolt of the cosmos and puts a big dent or a big hole in it. So actually, what it does, it describes the cataclysm, the Vela cataclysm, when our world just got disrupted. And Vesta, the focusing principle, is on Gong Gong at the moment, at this full moon moment, suggesting that we need to learn from old cataclysms. We need to learn from old disruptions when our world got totally disrupted. And we need to learn from it, and we need to understand the mechanisms of it. And otherwise, it's going to happen again, and it will happen again and again until we completely destroy ourselves. Let's not do it. Let's try to save it. And it's up to us. It's up to us. Okay, so with this, I wish you happy full moon. And if you want to do some moon magic, you can do it around power. You can do it around how we can learn from the past and utilize it for the future. That's the main theme of this particular full moon. Happy full moon. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.